Welcome to the show, everyone. Grant Cohn, Rob Schuh. This is the Schuh Show. And what you need to know is that Jimmy Garoppolo didn't practice Monday, didn't practice Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, but they haven't ruled him out. They're keeping their fingers crossed, and it's kind of strange considering he's hurt and he hasn't practiced, hasn't thrown a football since last Thursday. That's the backdrop of this soap opera. It's been an exciting soap opera. How you doing, Rob?
I'm doing fantastic. Looking forward to a mellow night tonight with New Year's Eve. As you get older, the quieter it gets. I don't like to be out on the streets with all those amateurs out there doing their thing on New Year's Eve. So I like to keep it low key in the house, couple of movies. It'll be good.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you don't subscribe to Rob's YouTube channel already, do so. I don't know if you've noticed, but his channel's starting to do numbers. People figured out that he's really good. And I noticed I've seen some of his live streams this week were 18th, that 19th. I was like, dude. Anyway, do yourself a favor, subscribe to Rob. You can do Rob
Or
too.
Bob. Bobby Shoes he's good.
Frederick Peterson says these press conferences are a joke. Why even bother if you're going to give 3-word nondescriptive crap? He's the worst edit I've seen. I asked him how Trey Lance's how he was in practice this week. He said he was good. And he just stopped, and I couldn't follow up because Zoom, they just cut you off. I was going to be like, okay, like, could you give me a specific? But he just said, good. Like, well, that doesn't sound good at all.
What a wonderful answer that is.
Jeez. All right. Is it just me, or did HBO miss out big time not having the Niners on Hard Knocks? How do the Niners always get out? They've never been on Hard Knocks. They are the premium. I mean, we do Hard Knocks, basically.
Yes, we have to. We're left with no choice because HBO just won't give us what we want.
All right. So Jimmy Garoppolo hasn't thrown since last Thursday, has a torn ligament in his thumb, didn't throw all week, and yet the 49ers spent 3 firsts and a third on a backup just in case Jimmy, the injury-prone quarterback, gets hurt, so they'd be ready for such an occasion. And yet, Kyle won't rule out Jimmy, and seems pretty clear that he thinks an injured Jimmy who hasn't practiced at all that week still gives the 49ers a better chance to win than Trey Lance. What is the deal? Why do you think Kyle is so reluctant to play his project? That's what he is, right? His project.
It better be his project. With as much as we gave up for the individual, it better be someone that Kyle looks forward to working with. Because if not, we're in for a lot of pain over the next couple of years. I just want to call out that it seems as if angry Kyle has returned to the press conferences. It had gone away for a little bit, and now it seems to have come back. The fact that he thinks that questions about the injury and about Trey are unreasonable. I liken it to someone standing up in front of a pack of hungry wolves, waving a raw piece of meat, and then being surprised when the wolves attack him. Right? No. I mean,
what's the deal? Yeah, it's exactly.
It's crazy.
Eric Blanche was just asking like some clarification, and Kyle says, "I'm really close to never answering questions about injuries again." Dude, don't do that. Don't act like you're doing us a favor and being patient, because it's the opposite. Please don't do that. No one thinks you're doing that.
One more bad question. I'm taking my toys and I'm going home.
It was really unfortunate to see a rich kid do that at 42. And he's not a kid, but like, you grew up a rich kid. You are Mike Shanahan's son. Everyone thinks that you're the kind of guy who says, I'm picking up my toys and going home, and you did it. You threatened to do it. You didn't do it. I'll give you that. You threatened to do it.
I have to say that was disappointing to me, because I had given Coach Shanahan credit for having grown in the press conferences and really feeling like he was answering questions and being transparent and respecting the entire dialogue, because it's information that we want wholeheartedly.
Yeah. So why is Kyle Shanahan so reluctant to play Trey Lance? I mean, look, I think it's tied into, clearly he doesn't think Lance is ready for this. Right? Clearly, freaking clearly. And I think it's tied into what I kept saying the last 11 weeks. While Niner fans were grooving on winning, I was saying, well, okay, you blew out Jacksonville, Atlanta, the Rams. Couldn't you have let Trey Lance play in the fourth quarter? Aren't you worried that Jimmy could get hurt? Isn't Trey Lance the future of the franchise? Isn't it a possibility that he could have to play in serious games this year? And what Kyle did was he hoped for the best. I don't Jimmy's going to be fine. Well, this is going to work. And you're supposed to hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. They didn't prepare for the worst. And I think we're going to see most likely is that Trey's going to look a lot like he looked in week 5. And all this stuff that they're saying that he's been better in practice, that's practice. And that's not a game. And it's going to be a little rough. And I think it's either that Trey's a bust, and I don't think he is, or it's that essentially the Niners put all their energy into Jimmy this year. And they made a conscious decision to do that. And that the kid is most likely unprepared for the moment, unfortunately. And I don't blame him for that. I blame Kyle.
Yeah, you can't blame him for that, right? It's not his fault that when he was put in, he was overused in the run game and therefore suffered the injury and then had to be taken out for some time, didn't get the practice reps, and hasn't gotten those snaps that I've wanted as well. That in many of those games, even if it wasn't in time where the game had slipped away and you work him in for a couple of snaps, just getting him in the game for this eventuality. Because at the beginning of the year, we were told this is exactly why Lance was brought in.
Thank you.
For a situation just like this. And here we are, but the 49ers have done a poor job of getting him ready for the moment. I would like to believe that it really is Kyle's gamesmanship in delaying this, that it's clear to everyone in the locker room that this is Trey's start this week, and that he just feels it gives him some slight edge, even though the Texans have to know who is starting on Sunday at this point. I cannot imagine going the entire week without throwing the football and then Saturday testing it and being like, yeah, he's good to go.
I mean, look, they're hyping up the scout team as being this great forum to develop a quarterback. Give me a break. Baloney. What else are you supposed to say? The fact of the matter is you put him on ice for 11 weeks and you hope that Jimmy would make it through the season. He didn't. And now you're going to face the consequences of that decision. The consequences. Anyway, they're going to have to face the consequences. I can't do it. The consequences of that decision is tough. But seriously, that was their choice. Go all in with Jimmy this year and hope that he wouldn't get hurt for a second time this season. He did. And now what is Trey Lance really prepared for? What has running other teams' offenses with the backups and in practice, how much has that really helped his mastery of the 49ers offense? How much has he really improved his accuracy? We're going to freaking see. And really, it is mostly going to reflect on Kyle, which is why he looks like he has a stomach ache this week.
Yeah, when you hear Mike McDaniel talk about, well, when he runs the scout plays, it mirrors some of the things that we do, but the timing's a little different. The verbiage is a little bit different. So you mean it's different. Like it's not the same. You're not actually practicing what the 49ers do. I do think
better than nothing. It's better than nothing, essentially.
It is better than nothing. That's for sure. And I do agree with Steve Young that if you attack your preparation like you're going to play every week, you do get better. It's not going to compare to getting into games, getting real live action, but you certainly can improve. Trey is a wildly talented individual with a lot of raw talent, so I'd like to see that come through on the field. But in fairness to Coach Shanahan, he really has been fairly transparent in pointing out that he thinks Jimmy gives the 49ers the best chance to win on a weekly basis. He's really not wavered from that. We have just wanted to believe differently. I have wanted to believe differently that we would eventually see the rookie in the way in which it was described in the preseason. We just haven't.
It just feels to me like Kyle has like his senior project. It's Trey Lance. And he's thinking, okay, I don't have to do that until the last week. I'll just put that off and I'll knock that out and I'll just do it in a week. And even though it's supposed to be all semester, and then halfway through the semester, the professor's like, okay, so how's that project going? And Kyle's like, good.
Fine.
Great. And he's like, okay, so let me see what you got. Let's see. I want to see your thesis. I want to see your outline. I want to see your bibliography. And he's like, no, Jimmy's coming back. Don't worry. No, like not this. I just don't. I think he's not prepared for this moment. I think he felt like I can just put off Trey's next year. I will coach Trey next year. This year I'm coaching Jimmy, and that's my plan, and it's going to work out. It's a brilliant plan. And all of a sudden, like, can we see that project? Can we see that project right now? Actually, it needs to work right now. The playoffs are two weeks. I haven't done anything. This is really scary. I think that's a little bit. I know that look. I've seen that look on his face this week. That I didn't do my homework. Look, I know that look. I felt that. I've given that look.
I've given that look a lot.
Given that look. How was practice for Trey this week? Good. Oh, okay. All right. So not good. Not good, huh? Okay. All right, well, maybe you should have gave him first team reps at other times before now. So, Brian, I hope we answered your question. Brian, triple question mark, said, why is Kyle so scared? Those are my theories, because he's probably thinking this is going to go bad and I'm going to get blamed. It's good. I mean, coaches are usually pessimistic heading into games anyway, but I think he's thinking, we're going to lose to Houston and it's going to it's going to be really bad.
And it will be. If that occurs, I mean, 49er faithful will really start to lose it. Like, it will be ugly.
The civil war of Niner fans, of Jimmy Garoppolo guys coming in and being like, told you so. In your face. What were you saying about Trey Lance having? What were you saying? Oh, yeah. And then Trey Lance people are just going to be so mad at Kyle. I already know. It's going to be, whew. Happy New Year's, guys, says Jody. Thank you. Happy New Year's, Jody. How do you honestly think Trey is doing in practice? The commentary out of camp is positive, but shouldn't we expect that? Yeah, to me, the way I read it is everyone's been really gassing up Trey this week, and Kyle's nervous about it because that might just be, teammates talking up teammates. I think Kyle did not gas up Trey today. How was Trey's week of practice? Good. Oh, okay. All right. So, yeah, I would have to think that his practice was a little up and down, I would think, this week.
Yeah. You can't expect any of the teammates to say anything different, so I think you can't really interpret much from it. You have to wait and see what he's able to do on the field on Sunday.
Seemed like Trey let it slip when he said it got heated with Fred Warner. I like it. Yeah, that's interesting. Warner he's like, I took him to the side. Trey was like, he yelled at me on the field.
Yeah.
Like, I need you to, and I know how I've been there before. Vets used to yell at Cap. And he used to scramble in practice, and he said, we're here to see you throw, Cap. Here to see you throw. Football players defensive players will get pissed in practice. Like, dude, you're not helping us. We've seen you. Like, how does that help us? Another scramble? We're not facing someone that's scrambling this week. So I've seen defensive players call out quarterbacks, especially young ones, for that. And good for Trey to be like, all right, so you want me to make a bad decision on the field to help you? It's basically what he says. Like, all right, so I've learned that sometimes I need to throw passes in practice that I wouldn't throw in games just to help them out. That's what he said.
Yeah. And that was far different than the impression I got when it was like, well, Warner took him under his wing, and it was, really.
That's not what Trey said at all.
Yelling across the line of scrimmage, hey, Rook, how about you make some of these throws?
Yeah, we're here to see you freaking throw, Rook. We know you can run. You're not helping us out. Why do you think we keep committing pass interference down the field? That's interesting. Jose, Big Jose says, first time watching Kyle press conferences, I hated how he spoke on how Lance and how he got mad about the injury question. Like, isn't that your job? I mean, dude, if you had ruled him out and said, look, it's been real clear all week, he's hurt. This is the prognosis. He's not going to play. There wouldn't be follow-up questions, but you're making it a mystery. You were like, hey, we're going to see how he does. And he's doubtful. Well, people are going to have more follow-up questions. And really, if you can't handle Eric Branch's follow-up questions, then dude. I mean, I love Eric, but he's not exactly Ira Miller. I mean, he's not the gotcha guy in the he's just asking a fair question. It's Eric Branch.
Yeah, it was pretty much a softball tossed at him. And again, it's a situation he created to be so upset about it. I gave him credit earlier for coming back from angry Kyle, but now he has returned. So got to call it out.
Jody once again says one more question. If Jimmy was injured the first half and they knew it, why didn't they put Lance in then? Isn't that why you have a backup? Could we have won against Titans, which was an important game? I mean, hold on. Kyle wants Jimmy to start this game. That's why. He doesn't want Trey Lance to play under any circumstances. It's because probably he hasn't been coaching Trey Lance at all the whole year. He probably was like, you know what? Jimmy beat you out, so I'll catch you. I'll catch up at the end of 2022. There's not a lot of time. You get an hour and a half a day. I don't think he's been spending much time on this summer project, on this senior project. That's what I think is going on here. And so from Kyle's perspective, man, you played the second half. Why can't you play this week? I'll take 70% Jimmy. I don't care. We pay you. I want 70% Jimmy. That's pretty much what he's saying. And Jimmy, to me is saying, well, you threw me under the bus. Yeah, you already replaced me. I'm not going to be here next year. Maybe I don't owe it to you to play 70%. I mean, no one's gonna fault me for not playing with a torn ligament in my thumb. I think a little bit of that's going on right now.
There is a lot to interpret. The only thing I'm left with is, as Steve Young laid it out there, having to interpret not putting Trey in as something saying that Trey doesn't give the 49ers the better chance to win or a better chance to compete. And when you're talking about a partially injured Jimmy who clearly wasn't 100%, it is concerning that that's his belief.
Ryan says, Happy New Year's, guys. Oh my God, seriously, Grant. Kyle acts like he's the greatest coach of all time, and he's a dumpster fire. You guys are the GOAT. Thank you. He's not a dumpster fire, but he does have he's similar to Chip Kelly, and they both of them act like they invented football. Like they are the greatest offensive mind of all time. And I think they both believe that. I think both Chip Kelly and Kyle Shanahan believe that they're the greatest ever. And that, Bill Walsh was great in his day, but they really can't compare to what they're doing now. And I just I don't really respect people who are that cocky. It's like, it's good to be confident, but dude, accomplish something. Win a Super Bowl. Don't lose two. Do something first. You didn't invent football. You inherited it from your dad. And I'm sorry. He's a good coach. He's a good coach.
Shots fired.
Shots fired. I took Kyle's response differently. To me, he was frustrated himself, meaning he doesn't do a good job fully explaining. So he's just going to let others explain, like the bone shape difference. Well, that's a very generous interpretation. I thought it was a little bit of a hissy fit, but that's just the way I saw it.
I interpreted it more as the hissy fit as well. And I'm a Kyle Shanahan guy.
He had lost his patience. That's the way I saw it. Yeah. Trey Niners said, I think the team and the staff are set that 2021 is the 2019 run it back campaign. They were set on Trey being a 2022 starter. Stubbornness. Yeah, it's just they made a plan. They're sticking to the plan. They don't want to admit that the plan was wrong. So they're just going to ride it out.
What I struggle with is part of that plan was that Trey was the backup quarterback. You are in a position where you need your backup quarterback and you're unwilling to go to him. That's the weird part of it.
Agree. Like, the whole thing was Jimmy went down last year. You lost games you could have won if you'd had just a better backup because Nick Mullins wasn't good enough. Well, now you might lose to Houston because this guy is 21 and hasn't played in 2 years. And then you're going to go to the Rams, who you've beaten with Nick Mullins. And you might lose that game too. Like you might have gotten worse at the backup quarterback position before you get better, which is mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling. Timothy says, starting to feel Kyle doesn't know what to do with mobile quarterback, and this game will look just like Arizona game. Kyle not confident in his play calling. We're going to talk about how we think Kyle's going to use Trey, but you foreshadowed some of our talking points. That's all I'm going to say. Some of mine.
Cliffhanger.
Or is it more simple? Kyle gave Jimmy his word to be the starter, and he is a man of his word. Yeah. I don't know. It seems to me like Kyle and Jimmy are not on the same page this week. That's the way I see it. Kyle's I think he can play. And Jimmy's like, I'll give it a shot, but don't get your hopes up, bud. Yeah.
I can't imagine him hanging on, giving his word to Jimmy. He doesn't seem to have all that much trouble, ripping the rug out from underneath Jimmy Garoppolo. So I can't imagine that being the case.
Yeah. George Larmy says, so guys, do we know if Trey Lance is playing Sunday? Because if Jimmy is playing, that is bad omen. Every time he's hurt, he plays so bad. Jimmy's doubtful. I've never, ever seen a doubtful player play a game, but there's always a first for everything. And you could probably make an exception for the quarterback that Kyle clearly desperately wants to play. Here's the thing though. I don't think Jimmy wants to play. I don't think Jimmy's going to play in this game. How about that? I think Jimmy's hurt and Jimmy wants to rest his freaking thumb, which is his prerogative.
Jimmy is certainly auditioning for his next team, right? I think it's fair to assume that somebody's going to want to trade for him. Somebody's going to want to extend that contract so that it's not 1 year cap hit the way it is right now. And so how he plays the rest of the year, if he plays, determines part of that.
Miwook Sniper says, Grant, what do you think of doing a meet and greet after the season? Happy New Year's to everyone. Yeah, that'd be a good idea. Let's let the season end and Omicron pass, and we'll do that. Yahoo Fantasy Football Lounge at Levi Stadium is underrated. Happy New Year. I've never been there. Have you?
I've been to some of the exclusive clubs, but I don't know what they were called. They were pretty impressive, though.
That one's not on the first floor. I think it's like the second or the third. Anyway, yeah.
No, I've just been on that first floor and then the underneath spot, where the BNY or whatever.
Those look like those. You feel like you're in a casino. I like those
for sure.
We all see what Jimmy is. Why doesn't Kyle? He does. He unfortunately sees what Trey Lance is too, and we're not there. He gets to peek behind that curtain, and we don't. And remember, I saw him in training camp. I was very encouraged. He was playing with backups against backups. This is different. I haven't ever seen him play against starters, and really, we should have probably gotten a look at that a long time ago. I'm just saying.
Would have been nice.
Happy New Year's Eve, Grant and Rob. Thank you, Keneal. Same to you. How well does Trey have to play to start over a healthy Jimmy Garoppolo in the playoffs? Hammer Nail said if he wins both, he stays in. That is one of our topics. Could you bear with us? Because it's one of our topics.
People want to know.
I know. We're going to get there, man. I appreciate, and we'll shout out. We will dedicate it to you. Hold on. Describe the level of chaos the franchise will face if they lose and miss the playoffs. Oh, 10, 9.
Add to that Trey plays badly while he plays, 10 plus. I mean, we're talking 11. Like, it will be meltdown mode because the future will be shot. This year will be shot. It will be chaotic.
I'm kind of looking forward to it. I'm sorry. 49ers Daddy says, with how Kyle is acting, I can't read. If Trey plays great and wins, does Kyle still go to Jimmy week 18 or in the playoffs? We're going to talk about that. And we're all assuming that Jimmy has no say in this, that it's all about what Kyle wants. Isn't that what people are assuming here? What's Kyle going to do? What's Jimmy going to do? From Kyle's perspective, he played through it last week. He should play through it this week. And the only thing that changed was that he got blamed for the loss and didn't like it. I think that's Kyle's perspective right now. But maybe why do we have to see it from Kyle's perspective? Anyway, moving on to topic number 2, 20 minutes into the show, how the Niners will use Trey Lance against Houston. Real quick, I have a bad feeling that, look, we want to see Trey Lance in the offense, under center, running the offense the way Jimmy does. I have a feeling it's going to look a lot like Arizona, week 5. And even though they're saying that he's been better in practice, I'd like to see it for my own eyes. I have a feeling that we're going to see a lot of quarterback power running between the tackles because although they would have you believe that playing on the scout team just develops you exponentially, I think they've kind of put him on the back burner and now they have to rush him to the front burner and they're going to use him the same way they did in the past. I hate to be pessimistic, but I'm afraid, and I'm almost daring Kyle to do it. Like, do it, dude. Just let us all down, please. We're looking forward to it. But the game plan's already made. What do you think?
I think it would be insanity, right? Insanity to do the same thing and expect a different result. And
Agreed.
So my hope is that that's not what we see.
Mine too.
That Kyle's not insane, that he does put in a new game plan, that he goes to the fact that he wants this quarterback to be able to operate from inside the pocket first and foremost. Well, then how about the first couple of starts, we don't have him operating this crazy offense, right? Let's give him some practice doing what you said you would like him to be able to do first and foremost and hope that it's then what Jimmy brings to the table plus his legs, plus his arm talent to push it downfield and outside the numbers. I'm also fascinated to look at it from the angle of what each game plan would tell us just precisely about how Coach Shanahan feels about Trey. Because if he does what you're talking about and we see a repeat of Arizona, it confirms everything that you're speculating about earlier in this show, that he doesn't trust Trey, that Trey hasn't progressed, that the 49ers have failed in preparing him for what should have been an eventuality.
Yes.
It will confirm that.
Yes. And it would be great if Kyle Shanahan was just kind of sandbagging it and pretending that he's not confident. And then early in the game, when Houston's selling out to stop the run because they think the Niners don't believe in Trey's arm, and they want to make Trey prove that he can throw the ball from point A to point B without hitting point C in the head far over there. Boom, first play or first drive of the game, play action shot. That's what Harbaugh did with Kaepernick. No one thought the Niners believed in Kaepernick. He was starting like he didn't even get everyone thought Alex Smith was going to start that week. It was a surprise that he got not benched, but that he was hurt. And everyone's like, well, they're just going to have Kaepernick kind of just hand off like people expect this week with Lance. He's just going to run and hand off. And then all of a sudden it was 20-yard pass, 30-yard pass because Chicago was vulnerable to it. They were selling out to stop the run. It's wide open. So theoretically, the Niners could do the same thing in this game. I wonder if he'll hit the throw because Kaepernick hit it. I don't know.
Kaepernick hit them all in that game against the Bears. It was very impressive. And it is true to Kyle Shanahan's persona that when he smells blood in the water, when he smells a way in which to attack a team, he will go all out in that effort and attempt to capitalize on it. And oftentimes when he's doing that with Jimmy at the helm, that's what feels like the problem, is that he's attacking a weakness in the secondary or over the middle of the field with a quarterback who just cannot play consistently when you ask him to throw 30, 35 times.
Here's the thing with Trey Lance. I really like him, but we everyone acknowledged that his biggest weakness coming into the NFL was his accuracy.
Right.
And people compared him to Josh Allen, who was inaccurate but improved. The difference between them is I watched Allen at Wyoming. He always had crazy confidence in his arm, even when he was missing people wildly. Like, he was arrogant in his arm. And the best quarterbacks are like very, very confident that they can just in their arms, even if they're not putting it where they want to. Trey doesn't give me that vibe. Like, Kaepernick was so confident in his arm, he was a pitcher. He could have been in a major league pitcher. He believed in his arm. Trey is a guy that, to me, loses his confidence in his arm wanes. It comes and goes. And if he has a bad miss, it can affect him. And that's concerning to me. That's the one thing that concerns. Like, it's one thing to be inaccurate, but you got to believe in that arm. You can't shut it down. So I'd like to see him grow in that area. He's still very young and he could, but Kyler Murray has arrogance in his arm. I mean, so does. Yeah, I mean, they really believe in their arms. I'd like to see that Trey does too.
It's interesting to think of that from the perspective of being conservative with the football, attempting not to turn it over, versus confidence in the arm, the ability to make that throw. I'll be now looking at that balance, because I appreciate that fact about Trey, the fact that he only threw the one pick in the 2020 season, went all of 2019 without it. But part of that could be not trusting the arm, not pushing it into tight spots. It'll be interesting to see how that develops with the Niners.
Like, I've been watching Trey all year. And I've been filming his practices the last 3 days, because he's starting. And you guys can go and watch it. I don't know if you've noticed it, but he'll be warming up with the ball boy. And the ball boy will have to make a lot of acrobatic catches, jumping, extending. I mean, frequently. If you watch someone like Justin Herbert warm up, I watched Justin Herbert warm up in Costa Mesa. It's like a jugs machine. Any body part you want, he hits consistently. It's like mesmerizing. And Trey's just not that kind of a thrower.
No.
And I love Trey. I really believe in him, but we all knew that was his weakness. And I'm just pointing out that's what it looks like. And I'd like to, this is the base level he needs to improve from.
Yeah, I can confirm that was the case in his warm-ups in Seattle when I was there in person before that game as well, that I remarked that on my channel and took note of it, that there were some times where he clearly threw it, up above the ball boy or whatever receiver was out there.
All the time.
And then you could see him practicing the motion, like trying to get the snap release of it. He's clearly still trying to work on whatever mechanics he attempted to change since college.
Agree. So I think the Niners will probably try to limit his throws. And I think Houston will probably try to get him to throw as much as possible, stop the run, probably run the ball themselves, force the Niners, like try to win the time of possession and get the Niners throwing. Anyway, Houston has one of the worst run defenses in the league. This is a natural opportunity for the Niners to try to do what New England did to Buffalo a few weeks ago and just throw like 3 times. Something like that, and just run over this team. Do you think it can be done?
I think that it can. I mean, we are looking at the Texans, who are the second worst defense in the league for yards on the ground. I was pretty surprised that the worst team in the league is the Pittsburgh Steelers, because you just think of them as an elite defense, but struggling against the run this year. Texans being the second worst, they're allowing 4.7 yards per carry. The 49ers are getting back all of their running backs, right? Elijah Mitchell may not be 100%, but he is going to be playing, which is critical for the 49ers. When I was doing a little pregame informational session with a dude from ESPN Houston that came on the channel, he was talking about how the Texans struggle to set the edge. And therefore, you could see with Elijah Mitchell coming back, that's going to be key, getting around the edge. And Deebo Samuel could certainly feast if they're unable to set the edge.
If you can't set the edge against the Niners, you're screwed. So the Niners should be able to run all over the Texans. And even if they don't pass much, it seems to me the Niners should have a million different ways to run the ball. I mean, under center, from the gun, zone read. I mean, you have Trey, Deebo, Jeff Wilson Jr., maybe Elijah. I mean, a million different ways to run the ball.
This game sets up, regardless of what you think of Trey's abilities, to be one where you probably want him completing, attempting 20 passes or fewer, because it sets up to win by running the ball, controlling the time of possession, and then getting after Davis Mills on the opposite side of the ball.
And what's interesting is I think Houston's going to try to do the same exact thing. They've had a lot of success recently running the ball. And if they can control the time of possession with their run game and put the Niners in a situation where they have to pass because they're running out of time and they're behind, that's a win for them. And that's what they're going to try to do. So both teams are going to have the same. It's going to be a short game, a lot of running.
Last week was the first 100-yard game for the Texans. Rex Burkhead was the one who got the 100-yard game, and that was against another team that really struggles against the run. The Chargers are giving up 4.7 yards per carry themselves. Right. And so you would hope that Rex Burkhead cannot repeat against the San Francisco 49ers defense.
I don't think he can. Fred Warner's too good. Jaquiski Tartt, Jimmy, they're not going to – the middle of the Niners defense is too good. They're not going to let this happen. And I do think the Niners should be able to run at will. I'd just like to see Kyle commit to it and not just Trey running quarterback power. What killed me about the quarterback power stuff is there's very little misdirection. Right. But I'd like – how about the zone read with him and Debo? That would be the most potent zone read in the NFL. Like, there's no one Lamar Jackson can run the play with that's as dynamic as Debo. Can we see that, please? Because we haven't seen it once. Not once. And that's probably your best run play this year. I mean, just those are the two best athletes on your team. I'd like to see that.
It sets up to have so many available runners that if Trey ends up with more than 10 carries himself, I'll be upset in this one.
It seemed to me that in that last preseason game against the Raiders, they were sort of previewing a little bit of this. Like, they ran the ball a million different ways. Didn't do very much passing. Let's see some of that. Let's see all the different little run plays you have for Trey, like all the misdirection with Debo going one way. And why not? What are you waiting for? Because like the quarterback power stuff is just, or quarterback draw. It's like, okay, well, here I go as a battering ram.
Do you think this will be the classic week of Kyle holding something back, believing that the Texans are the inferior team, knowing that we have a must-win that following week against LA?
This is a must-win, Rob. This is a must-win. If they lose to Houston, forget about it. Forget about it. So, yeah, this would be a bad time to hold it back. It's January. Well, then they play. It'll be January. No, you can't hold back in January.
He's admitted it's a playoff game.
It is a playoff game. Chris Royal says, is Mitchell good to go? Questionable. He practiced all week, though. I would think yes. But he might be on, like, a pitch count or something.
Yeah, I think Kyle's actual words today were something that will give him as many carries as he can handle.
Lombardi posted a video of Trey warming up before facing Atlanta. I noticed he would pull that finger back constantly as Trey already damaged goods. I would hope that finger injury he suffered in the preseason isn't still bothering him, but I don't know.
It's wild that he had to talk about the fact that he's still straightening that finger, still getting it out there. I mean, that is concerning.
Very concerning. Mike Henry says run the normal offense with Trey and allow him to use his legs when needed, not forced. Houston game may end up being Trey left, Trey right, halfback screen. Yeah. Yes. I would like to see some confidence in Trey's ability to run the freaking offense and not some gimmick offense. Is Trey Sermon going to play? I don't know. And maybe I guess they could activate him on Saturday. So stay tuned. We'll find out tomorrow. I did see him practicing this week. I know they opened up his practice window.
Yeah, supposedly good to go. Kyle said something like he could have played last week if they wanted him to.
So great. I mean, another guy that can run the ball, especially from the shotgun with Lance. Ethan Hicks says, it seems the Niners D never really disguises pre-play, especially in zone. Have you noticed this? Why wouldn't they want to make it tougher on quarterbacks? I haven't been studying the Niners defensive tape that closely, but I will look. Thank you, Ethan. Have you noticed this?
I have not. I mean, I have definitely been appreciative of the job that DeMeco Ryans has done all season, save for a couple of games where he didn't seem to have adjustments, but I haven't looked specifically for that.
The Ramelia Sports Report says, has Shanahan tenure been bust? 5th year, 32-40? Ouch, says the resident Rams fan. Well, look, here's the thing. If he misses the playoffs this year, it's going to get so ugly this offseason. So that's why, again, I think he's got this like stomach ache expression. That's like, dude, this is, no one really understands. He understands how bad it could get. He does. He knows.
Yes, he does.
Yeah. All right. Why don't you critique the 49ers draft strategy, Rob?
So this one, it came to me when looking at Davis Mills and
Yeah.
looking at what the 49ers could have done. And, it's not necessarily a critique yet because it's far too early to say what was or was not the correct way to go about it. But in watching the success that Mac Jones has had in New England and in watching the success that Davis Mills has had in playing considerable games for the Texans, and just sort of the mystery that is Trey Lance at this point, until we get a look at him on Sunday, you have to wonder the difference between trading up and using the third overall pick or just using a third rounder, and what this team could have looked like if they had been a bit more conservative, right? I mean, it's not like Davis Mills would have played a couple of games. He'd have played one game because Jimmy is the starter, right? And so you had options. You could have even taken Mack at 12 and Mills in the third and had two shots at it and still had more draft capital to build up the team around them. Now, I throw all that out there for good conversation. Before anyone skewers me, I do want to say I still have faith in Trey. I still believe that was the right pick. But it makes you wonder from a strategy standpoint whether it was the prudent move.
Look, they spent 3 firsts and a third on Trey Lance. I still can't get over that price tag. How many NFL vets are worth that? Like maybe 20, maybe 15. And this is a guy who never played in the NFL, who you don't know. And that's the thing. Like, I like Trey Lance because he definitely has the ability, the upside to be a top 5 quarterback. But drafting quarterbacks and developing quarterbacks is very inexact science. And
Yes.
you can't put yourself in a position that you feel like you know, because you don't. You didn't trade up for the first pick in the draft. You didn't trade up for the second pick in the draft. You traded up for the third quarterback. The consensus, he wasn't even consensus number 3. There was no consensus number 3. There was consensus top 2. You got the third guy, and you paid a price that, would have been reasonable for freaking Aaron Rodgers or Deshaun Watson. And I really like Trey Lance, and I would, if I were a coach, I would really want to coach him, but that's way too expensive. You have to go into it knowing I could get this wrong. So why? And I might have to take a quarterback again next year. That's what Arizona did, and it worked out. What you don't want to do is commit yourself to the wrong guy. Like, imagine if Arizona had committed themselves to Josh Rosen, and we got to stick with this because we traded up for him. That'd be terrible. You really want the flexibility to freaking move on, and the Niners don't have that flexibility.
They don't have that flexibility, and they haven't even adequately answered the question of whether they've even remotely gotten this choice correct, right? They've just punted the decision or the answer to the decision to next year in refusing to get him in there, in refusing to get him snaps. And so I think it's fair that those of us out there talking about it, those of us out there thinking about it, are driven crazy by this idea of the unknown. We see other players out there contributing. We see the inconsistency in Jimmy Garoppolo, even though he has done well in winning some games this year. And you just have a huge unknown as to whether they bet the franchise and lost, or whether we have the savior in the building and they're just a little too stubborn to put him in.
It's just wild. Like, they thought they knew about Lance, but now they're like surprised that he's more of a project than they thought. They could have just stayed at 12 and taken Mac Jones, or they could have, drafted Davis Mills instead of Aaron Banks. Like, there were way cheaper options that may have ended up, pleasing them more.
Yeah.
They're the ones that are so concerned about Trey Lance.
Steve Young said many things very eloquently, but I thought that what he said about the message sent by the organization in selecting Trey was far different than all the messaging that we've gotten since then, right? When you trade up that much to get Trey, it's going to be a legit competition. He has a chance to be the starter from day one. And then it's clear from everything we heard, from all of the questions you got to ask, from all of the preseason practices, that he never really had a shot, that it was Jimmy the entire way. And those two messages do not coincide, right?
No.
It's just...
They make my head explode.
Yeah,
right?
not compatible.
No. AmTodd99 says, great, if Kyle commits to Trey and he dominates, will you stop beefing with Kyle? Because it's getting awkward with all his 3-word answers. I'm not even beefing with him, I swear. But yeah, I asked him how he thought he coached. in Nashville after the loss, and he looked at me like, I was like, I'm not challenging you. I just would like to know how you thought you coached. I mean, I thought he coached pretty well. I thought he had guys open. But he looked at me like, again? I was like, I'm sorry, man. Like, you just get to throw Jimmy under the bus and you don't have to talk about yourself at all. He really doesn't appreciate my line of questions. But you know what? I'm proud of that because that's sort of my job, is to be the guy that he's annoyed with. If he liked me, I'd feel like I wasn't doing a good enough job. We're not friends.
We need a contrarian in the room.
That's the job. I'm friends with Rob. I'm not friends with Kyle. All right. Grant and his fan feelings tonight. Time to get the starter jacket out. Oh, that hurt. Matthew Sanders said QB talent is all on a bell curve. Zach Wilson, Tua, Mac, Davis, Mills. All are one standard deviation. Niners are betting that Trey is 95% talent and higher. Yeah, I'm with you. Like, he was so much better than these guys that they needed to. Yeah. Good luck, Trey. No pressure. Had they just had the third pick and taken him there, it would have been a totally different situation.
Totally different.
But he just had a bad season. You took the third quarterback. If he's not good, take another quarterback next year. Who cares? But no, you didn't do that. You traded up and said, we're giving him the Patrick Mahomes treatment. Okay, well, now he's Patrick Mahomes. He better. That's the expectation that Niner fans have. Speaking of expectations, what will it take Trey Lance in this game against Houston? What does he have to do to keep this job?
It's an interesting question, because you could see in Kyle's description of Jimmy as QB1, and even as Trey talks about it, and he emphasizes that Jimmy is our starting quarterback. I'm going to be ready to go, but if Jimmy's healthy, if he throws on Saturday and he's good to go, he's our starting quarterback. So he's in. It sends a very clear message that it would take a hell of a lot for Trey to grab and hold on to that starting role. I mean, Kyle Shanahan, I said it earlier, he's at least been consistent on that point. Every time he's had the opportunity to say who his starting quarterback is, he has said it's Jimmy Garoppolo. I think that you could see a pretty dominant performance on Sunday. And if Jimmy is healthy going into Week 18, we're back to a legitimate conversation about who's starting.
I think there's nothing Trey Lance can do to keep this job. I think Kyle Shanahan has made his mind up that it's Jimmy's job this year. I think the organization has made their mind up that it's Jimmy's job for a lot of reasons. I think they want to get some return on that investment. They've sunk 5 years, a lot of coaching, a lot of money into that. And I don't think they just want to be like, okay, now you're a backup. Now we're just going to cut you in the offseason as Trey time. No, they've committed to getting something out of this Jimmy experience. And I don't think they're just going to dump him at the end. See, to me, though, this is a trick question. I don't think there's anything Trey Lance can do. I think Jimmy Garoppolo would start this week if he wanted to. If he wanted to, he would start this week. But he doesn't want to. And I'm not saying he's dogging it. He doesn't want to play through injury for the 49ers. I don't think he's going to play again. I don't think he's hold on. I don't think he's going to play again this season. I don't think he wants to. I think this is a 5 or 6 week injury, and he's thinking, if in 6 weeks the season's still going, I'll come back. But in 6 weeks, that would be like the Super Bowl. And at that point, probably what Trey Lance would have to do is lead the team to the Super Bowl. Then he'd probably get to keep the job. But barring that, whenever Jimmy wants to come back, it's his job. And he doesn't seem super eager. So I'm thinking basically Trey Lance is going to get this job by default from here on out.
I mean, it could work out.
Unless I'm reading this wrong.
If the injury doesn't heal, then you would think it's Trey all the way in Week 18. If the 49ers win against Houston and the Saints lose against Carolina and they've now clinched a playoff spot, maybe they say to themselves, well, even if Jimmy is good to go, we give him an extra week. Because Kyle talks about that, the thumb injury, it's all about that tendon reattaching or whatever, right? The longer he goes without throwing, the better the chance is that he comes back healthy and heals quickly from the injury. So if they lock up a playoff spot, I could see them going another week. But I do agree, while I don't agree that Jimmy won't play again or that he won't want to play again this season, I do agree that I think it is up to him. It's dependent upon his recovery from that injury. If he's ready to go and willing to go, I think it's his job.
And I'm not trying to make it seem like he can play and he's doing this to spite the 49ers. He knows he's out. He knows he's going to be looking for a new team, a new contract soon, and he needs to be healthy. Sorry. I mean, if the Niners had committed to him, If they had extended his contract and not brought in Trey Lance, things could be different right now. But that's not the situation. He knows most likely he's gone. And so he's thinking he's not really a 49er anymore. He's a 49er for the next, 2 weeks or whatever, as long as they have a season. And then after that, he's thinking about his next destination. So God forbid, heaven forbid, I don't want to bring God into it, he injures the thumb worse and has to get surgery. I mean, that would be, and the Niners wouldn't care. Hey, thanks for everything, Jimmy. Good luck. No, Jimmy has to protect himself. It's the situation the Niners have put him in.
Yeah, he only has like a $7.5 million injury guarantee, which is a fraction of what he would earn anywhere. Even if he were a backup, right? You would think that he would earn close to the Dalton treatment of that 10 mil a year. And so if he did feel this way, I couldn't fault him for it. If he did want to make a business decision for the rest of the season because he doesn't think there's a legitimate shot at increasing his value, I don't think I could fault him for it.
I definitely don't fault him for it. That's the way I look at it. I think it's interesting to say, what does Trey have to do? Stay healthy, because I think it's his job here. I think Jimmy's pretty much saying, you know what? I got to focus on my future. Because you already said Trey's the future, right? You've said that. Trey's your future. Okay. Well, I got to make a business decision here. I'm sorry. I'm hurt. He's right. I feel as though Kyle's too afraid to even learn whether or not he made a mistake by drafting Trey. Jimmy has been his safety blanket for deflections. I think that's probably pretty true.
I hope he proves all of us wrong, because I'm starting to feel this way as well. And I'm the ever optimistic guy. I hope he proves all of us wrong and comes out with a game plan for Trey that looks a hell of a lot more like the normal offense.
I will praise you up and down if you do. Merkin Avalos says, besides swapping another first-round picks, they've played what the Rams did for Stafford. They paid what the Rams did for Stafford, I believe. 2 firsts and a third. Yeah, and Stafford's a known quantity, and Trey Lance isn't. You think Kyle Shanahan would be playing injured Jimmy Garoppolo over Stafford if he had Stafford on the bench? Like, if he had Stafford, Jimmy would have just been gone.
Yeah.
He would have been gone.
To me, Stafford is Jimmy just with the arm strength, right? Like, he's the same inconsistent type of a quarterback that can throw multiple picks in a single game, but he can throw the deep shot. He can hit it on a rope.
Yes, he can. Ominous24 says, no problem trading 3 firsts for Trey, Solly, Foster, McGlinchey. Niners first rounders aren't worth what normal teams first are. Fine. The problem is, if he's not the right guy, it's hard to move on and get another quarterback. And you don't have the first round picks, and you're in that sunk cost fallacy stage where it's like, we have to make this work. And that's really a bad place to be.
The good news for John and Kyle is if it doesn't work, they will be long gone and someone else will be dealing with the issue.
Good point. Trey Niner said if Kyle was half the coach Jim Harbaugh was, this would be Alex Smith replacing Kaepernick situation, other way around. Being replaced by Kaepernick. I really can't read. And we would run off to the Super Bowl. Yes. The thing about Harbaugh was that he was always so proud of Kaepernick and was so eager to show what he could do. I mean, I got the feeling that there's no way Harbaugh was as proud of any of his sons as he was with Kaepernick. I mean, it was just a way that, like, my dad looked at me. I mean, it was very special. And I've never seen Kyle look that way at Trey, ever. Or anyone.
No, I feel like Harbaugh built up his quarterbacks, and that is not the sense I get from Kyle Shanahan.
The coach, man, it's been a minute. Hey, coach, keep the focus. The moment Jimmy loses his job on paper, his trade value plummets. That's exactly it. You can't unring that bell with a backup tag on his value. Thank you, man. It's been a minute. That's pretty much it in like 20 words. That's it. They will not do that to Jimmy Garoppolo. Organizationally, they're not going to give him the backup title for the reasons that coach just put it. I wish I was half as articulate as coach. Thank you. I've been trying to say that for like 6 months. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's it. That's the whole thing. In the show. That's it. Appreciate it. You got to call in the Cohn phone one of these days, man. It's tomorrow. California Bears says they activated Sudfeld and signed another quarterback to the practice squad. Jesus, Kyle, ready or not, just play the kid. No, it's gonna be Sudfeld tomorrow. They're gonna have a 2 quarterback. Not tomorrow.
We'll finally get the 2 quarterback system, and it'll be Sudfeld and Tyler Bray.
Yes, Bootlicker Sports, great name, says, I know this might be too optimistic, but what if Shanahan doesn't want to give anything away with Trey right now? That'd be great. That'd be great.
I still have the pipe dream that somehow we ride Trey's magnificent talent to the Super Bowl this year. I know I'm crazy in believing that, but the 49er fan within me wants to believe.
Is the 49ers let's say inability to force turnovers consistently going to cost them in this game.
It certainly sets up that way in that's how the Texans effectively beat the Chargers last week. I mean, when you look at those two caliber of teams, the Los Angeles Chargers should have whooped up on Houston, right? I mean, talent level, comparing the quarterbacks, comparing the defenses. Yeah, they both struggle with the run, but they're in wildly different conferences where LA has been in contention with some of the best teams in the AFC. And yet, because of 3 turnovers leading to 17 points, including a pick 6, that was the difference. And the 49ers have proven themselves to be incapable of overcoming a turnover differential in a game. They seem to be incapable of overcoming a 10-yard loss on a holding penalty in the middle of a drive, let alone falling behind multiple scores because they give the advantage to the other team with the turnovers.
Yeah, I mean, if the Niners could force some turnovers, it would really put away the Texans early. And I do think this is going to be a really close game. But, dude, I couldn't name 5 players on the Texans before I looked it up this morning. We were talking about it in the press room today, and I was like, Brandon Cooks, Rex Burkhead, Davis Mills, Tyrod Taylor, who's hurt. I mean, if you look at their starting lineup, there are at least 10 players I've never heard of. So really, I don't want to hear any excuses like backup quarterback, backup corners, not getting the turnovers. Freaking find a way to beat Houston, please, at home.
Yeah,
you can do it. I believe in you because you're good enough, you're strong enough, and doggone it, people like you.
I find it interesting that the 49ers so far this season have had multiple opportunities, the most recent being last week against the Titans, where it's set up as just strength against weakness. And somehow, some way, the 49ers find an inability to capitalize on that. And it's maddening because you know that they have the talent, you know that they have the quality to overcome and just can't. And I do worry that sets up to be the case again with the Texans here. And if they are unable to generate pressure on the rookie and force him into making some mistakes, which he's definitely capable of doing, the 49ers seem to be in a precarious spot.
Could you imagine if the Niners lose these next 2 games and miss the playoffs? Could you imagine the conversation we're going to have? Oh my goodness, Kyle, as your attorney, my professional advice is not to lose these next 2 games. I strongly advise you not to lose these next 2 games. That's my advice. Take it, grain of salt. Please, as your attorney, strongly advise you. I don't know. Turnovers. Get the turnovers.
Well worth the $500 an hour he pays you for that legal advice.
Mufasa says Joe Flacco or bust. That's between you and Joe, but better than Sudfeld. All right. Final score prediction. Who's going to win? What's the score going to be? Tell me.
Oof. I believe that the 49ers are going to handle business. I believe that they will finally be able to capitalize a strength against weakness with their run game coming back to close to full health, bringing in Trey to have the occasional true 11-on-11 football. I don't want him run more than 10 times, but I'd like to see some runs by Trey. So I think the 49ers are able to control the game with the ground game, get it rolling, and force Davis Mills into some bad situations. Force him to throw that much-needed pick to Jimmy Ward. I think the 49ers roll in this one, mainly because I can't take another close one, Grant. I'm going to have heart palpitations if the Niners make this one close. So I have the Niners winning it 34-16.
Wow. 34-16. Jason Aponte on my channel yesterday said 24-10. I'm a worry wart here, but I'm the biggest Trey Lance fan. My pinned tweet is that he gives the Niners their best chance to win. I'm white knuckling this one. 20-16 Niners. The way I look at it is, even though I can't name 6 players on Houston, they have a decent offense that should be able to score 16 points. Just 16. More than 10. And then you have at 17. So we agree on that. We're in the same boat
ballpark.
on that. But with the offense, 34 points with Trey Lance, I'd love to see it. Boy, would I love to see it. I'm thinking it's going to be way worse. It's going to look choppy. The passing game is going to look not great, and they're going to somehow, some way get 2 touchdowns, 2 field goals, and win by 4.
I can't fault that because of what we saw against Arizona. I'm taking, if someone asked me earlier in the week, if you're going over under Trey Lance 250 passing yards, I'm taking the over in this one. As much as I know that seems like a foolish bet, I think that we see a little bit of Kaepernick against the Bears in this one, that it will be a bit of a coming out party for Trey Lance, and he will inspire some confidence for us going into the playoffs and for next year, even if we go back to Jimmy at some point. But I know I'm being optimistic.
See, here's the problem. If Kyle has this big coming out party for Trey Lance and just opens up the playbook and Trey Lance shows he's ready, then Kyle's in a tough position because he just proved himself wrong for sitting Trey, right? He proved him, like, it's great, but your plan was wrong and you proved it yourself. So Kyle doesn't do that. He never does that to himself. What he's going to do is somehow find a way to prove himself right. And to me, that's probably means 55 runs, just run the whole time. Really, honestly, do that if it works. Make the Houston Texans prove they can stop your run game. Don't just pass because it's an option. Don't do that. Saying.
Force them to stop the run, because it sets up to where they shouldn't be able to stop the 49ers. We should be averaging 5+ yards a carry.
Yeah. And even if you're only averaging 4 yards a carry, you can win that way.
Yes, you can.
Stilo 441510, representing both sides of the bay, says, I'm tired of hearing about Stafford. He's garbage, Rob. I'll be back to say I told you so when he implodes. Trey's worth every penny. Watch and see. Hey, look, I'm not saying that they should have traded for Stafford. Not saying that. I'm just saying this trade for Lance was like staggeringly expensive if you really think about what they were paying for and the fact that
for an unknown quantity.
No, yeah. Ride trade to the Super Bowl and then Jimmy wants to play. Yeah, well, if Trey can make it to the Super Bowl, I think that's pretty much what he has to do. Make it to the Super Bowl.
If he gets to and wins a single playoff game, I don't think you can go back at that point, right? You cannot make the switch. If he has won 3 in a row, including a playoff game, there's no going back. It's Trey's team. Trade value be damned.
I wonder if Trey plays really well this week, if Jimmy Garoppolo's thumb magically feels better next week. Hey, I'm back. I'm ready. Forget that guy. You don't need him. I was telling Rob I love y'all act of Kyle so funny. Thanks, William. We try.
I think he's going back to the Kyle Shanahan impression that happened on a whim way back when, preseason, I think it was.
You do a great Kyle Shanahan impression. Cody says, I think what would upset me the most here is if Trey gets to start and Banana Hands using him the same way he did against Cardinals and we still win. Oh, get ready for that. Because I do think that, I thought the Niners should be able to beat the Texans anyway. So, yes. I think that's possible.
Even with that game plan, they should be able to. It would just be disappointing to see it again. But it would prove what you're talking about. I just wish Kyle got better at spinning the storyline so that he could play Trey, have Trey be wildly successful, and say, see, I told you he needed to sit until week 17. I was right.
Bootlicker Sports says Ambry Thomas gets his first pick in this game. Oh, that would be big with the season on the line.
That would be huge.
William says, hey, Grant, thanks for exposing us all to these guys you do shows with. They accent your humor, smart move. Miss Botan. We'll get Botan back. Don't worry. He'll be back. He's just working hard over in the heart of Europe.
Yeah, he's doing the NFL thing over there in Europe.
Yeah, don't worry. Off season, I'll get him. Lance says, does Lance have a better game than he did versus Arizona? I would freaking hope so. Kittle's playing. Kittle wasn't in that game. I would freaking hope so that he can maybe hand off a little bit and yes.
Yardage wise in that one. Yeah, that wasn't so bad from a yardage standpoint. Just didn't get it in the end zone.
No way it happens. But what if we lose to Houston? Then the whole season, they probably miss the playoffs and things get strange. We're going to talk about that in a minute. You could never look me in the eye and tell me that you're not a Niner fan. LOL. Evan, you think you know me. Keldon says, I think you misunderstood what Kyle believes is ready. Ready means Trey knows the system as well as Jimmy or as well as Matt Ryan did in year 2. Great. Well, look, I just hope they don't lose to Houston, man, for Kyle's sake. For Kyle's sake.
I believe that assertion that he's making there, that Kyle distinguishes that. The ability to run his system the way he believes it should be run is first and foremost. So even if Trey's displaying some things in practice that would make the rest of us go, wow, you should put him in there, if he's not executing just the correct answers in the order Kyle believes he should hit, then that's not good enough.
Mufasa says the 2 quarterback system starts Sunday against the Texans. Yes, Tyler Bray and Nate Sudfeld. It's exciting. Kyle just might think Lance isn't ready. Kyle also just might be wrong. I don't necessarily trust his judgment. Okay, Kyle is such a troll. Who's going to throw more passes, Trey Lance or his wide receivers? Are we going to see some wide receiver passes in this game? It's going to get real crazy. Anyway, last topic. Do you think the Niners are going to make or miss the playoffs?
Oof. I think that the Niners make the playoffs. I believe that they will. I believe that they will maybe even clinch it this weekend. I think that they're going to win against the Texans, obviously, predicting 34-16 in that one. And I think there's a reasonable chance that New Orleans loses this Sunday to Carolina and that locks them into the playoffs. And then you see Trey Lance for one more week going into week 18. But if it comes down to the Rams game, if they win this weekend and the Saints win as well, and it comes down to a do or die in LA, I mean, I'll be there, so I'll be cheering them on. I hope that's enough to get them over the top, but that becomes a tougher ask. Right now, it sets up nicely to win this weekend and maybe even clinch with a little bit of help.
Yeah, they have to win this game. If they win this game, I think they'll make it. If they lose this game, I don't know. Because the Saints are tough. I know they're not going to win games with Ian Book, but
great defense,
really good defense, better defense than the Niners. So must-win game. If they lose this game, I think they miss the playoffs, and I don't think Kyle wants that smoke. You can't. He's really been good at blaming Jimmy, but I don't think people are going to let him blame Trey. Trey's 21. Trey was supposed to be a project. You know, it wasn't like Jimmy where he was groomed by another organization for 4 years. No. This was your project. You took it on willingly, eagerly. You traded up for the opportunity to undertake the project, and then you fumbled it, theoretically. So, no, you can't throw Trey under the bus the way you do Jimmy all the time. So, good luck. Good luck. I'm such a jerk. Sorry. If Lance plays, which he will, I don't think there should be any turning back to Limpy G. Would you tell it to Kyle? Tell it to Kyle, please. Because he won't listen to me. He just gives me 3-word answers.
No, he does not understand the fans' desperation to see Trey the rest of the way. I mean, It is remarkable. He is definitely dead set on Jimmy as QB1, or at least presenting that as the reality.
All right, everyone. Go do your thing. Have a great night tonight. Be safe. Don't drive drunk. Do Uber and Lyft, all that good stuff.
For real.
And I'll be back tomorrow. Go to bed early because Cohn phone in the morning. Get a good night's sleep. Have some B complex before you go to bed. That'll help you with your hangover. Little B complex. And, call in because we got stuff to talk about.
Plenty going on for the Niners.
And subscribe to Rob's YouTube channel. You won't be disappointed.
Cheers to that.